All right, guys. Sorry about that. Technical difficulties on my end. I apologize about that. Welcome in, everybody, to the AFC East Summit YouTube channel and the Go Bills podcast channel as well. I am your host and founder of the Go Bills podcast, Brett McDurphy, as well as one of the brand representatives for the Buffalo Bills. Today, we're going to discuss the AFC East. We have a ton of stuff that we're going to talk about with the AFC East. We're going to, first of all, talk about the starting 11 for each of the AFC East panels, starting 11 for the whole entire AFC East. Now, this is based off of the starting 11 for the current team number one. We had some modifications that we made in place. So what you're going to see in here is the team starting 11 for each position, and that includes wide receiver. So the team's number one wide receiver, number two wide receiver, and number three wide receivers are in play as well. So without further ado, let me say a quick hello to each one of my panelists that I have on here, starting with Keith. Keith, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good. How about you, Brett? Good to be here.
Cannot complain, man. I got to say, though, I said it backstage, man, and with your bold look that you have up there, you talked about not having to do makeup and everything, but you do remind me a lot of Mitch Morse on the Buffalo Bills.
I would say thank you, but you just compared me to a Buffalo Bill, so I can't take that compliment, man.
I feel you on that. I get it. I know you've been probably compared a little bit to Zach Brown too. Is that true?
Yeah, I've heard Zach Brown. I've heard Seth Rogen a few times too, and I'm not sure I quite understand that one. But
I see it a little bit.
Well, if Seth Rogen was bald, I could see it.
Yeah, I agree.
But Mitch Morse, that's a new one, and I'm not going to repeat that. So,
yeah, I feel you. You might be hearing his name a lot coming up in this show today, so we'll see how that goes. But let me introduce another panelist as well. This guy is a Jets fan, one of the biggest ones. He's got the chant going, Jets, 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 going on. A little bit dark on his screen, though, but we're going to work with it. We're going to see how it goes throughout the show. We got Dom on the show right now. Dom, how you doing, buddy?
Good. How's everybody else doing? Brett, you good? Keith, Chris, how's everybody?
Good, Dom. Good to see you again.
Glad to be here. Glad to see you guys again.
Good to be with you guys as well.
Just be prepared for more shit talking.
Oh, yeah, it's going to happen. We know that. I mean, that's what the AFC East Summit is mostly about, so don't even worry about that. I got my last panelist on here as well. We have Chris from Pass Nation as well. He's a huge Patriots fan, and he is somebody that likes to troll a lot as well. So remember last episode when we had him on and he trolled everybody coming out with his whole entire AFC East team on defense. He picked every single Patriot. So it's going to be interesting to see if is there going to be a riot that's going to happen today where he picks Mac Jones over Josh Allen, and we'll see how that goes today. It might be some surprises.
Yeah, so we will see. We will see. You never know with me, so that's how I like it.
Well, I'm going to turn it over. I'm going to start it off with Dom today, talking about his AFC East team, his starting 11 for his team, and why he chose certain guys on here. So, Dom, let me turn it over to you first. Talk about your team and why you picked the guys that you picked.
So I'm gonna obviously start at the top with Josh Allen. I honestly think that he's the better, more well-rounded, obviously younger than Aaron Rodgers. As much as I would like to have gone with him, I honestly couldn't, especially watching some of those preseason dime videos that Rodgers was throwing to Wilson and all of that. I mean, he's obviously older, moves a little bit slower. I couldn't go with Tua because, like I've talked about previously, he's literally one hit away from being done. And then it is complete blasphemy that I even put one Patriot on here, let alone Mac Jones. So, and the only reason I almost put Gesicki in and put MIA because that's what I'm gonna associate him with Miami, not even with New England at this point in time. I already see Chris shaking his head, but you know how that goes. So always the back and forth. And then I like Breece Hall a lot. I've said it previously as well. The only thing that makes me nervous, obviously, would be his injury from last year, but he was crushing it all year. I do like Zonovan Knight as well. Prefer him, or I prefer Breece Hall over the other running backs in the AFC East. It was kind of a toss up for wide receiver number 1. I do like Diggs better, especially with Josh Allen throwing to him. Yeah, Tyreek is fast, but I would prefer a little bit more consistency especially with that combo with Allen and Diggs. And then now I actually like Waddle from Miami for sure as a number 2. I kind of wanted to throw a little Garrett Wilson in there at number 1, but I don't know if I could have handled the ridicule for all that with all the other number 1 receivers that all the other AFC East teams had. But I do like Davis at 3 in comparison to the other 3 receivers. Obviously, what did he change his name to? Chosen, right? Anderson. Obviously, the Jets got rid of him for a reason, so that was a hard pass for me. Now the tight end, I kind of had a little bit of a struggle. I do like Uzomah when he was with Cincinnati. But I think Gesicki's a better blocker by far, and I think he's a better pulling tight end, way better blocker in my opinion. And then don't judge me, Chris and Keith, for my entire left side of the offensive line being from the Bills. I almost swapped out the other McGovern and put him at center from the Jets, but I do like Mitch Morris better than McGovern on the Jets, not the Bills. And then the right side, I think, with Mekhi Becton should have a better year, obviously with his injury as well. He should do killer. And then I honestly think Vera Tucker is one of the better right guards that the AFC East has, in my opinion. And then offensive coach, obviously Ken Dorsey. That was a tough one. I honestly didn't want to choose any. I didn't want to choose any of them. I think that with the way the current state is, I think only time will tell. I mean, obviously, the Jets have Hackett, right? As the OC, which came from Denver, which, obviously we all know Denver's season last year was complete trash. So I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So that kind of rounds out my top 11 starting offense with offensive coordinator. So
it's good choices.
So bring the ridicule, bring it, Chris. I know it's coming.
Well, let me turn it over. I'm going to talk to. We have Nickel City Mafia that came in with a comment, and he said he really respects your choices on here, so it's perfect. So let me talk to. I'm going to start with Keith first. Then I'll go to Chris because I know Chris is going to have some trolling coming in. Let me go with Keith first. Give me a grade for this team that Dom has right here.
If I had to grade, I would give it. Truthfully, I give it like a C minus. I have a few issues with that list, to be honest with you. First and foremost, calling Mike Gesicki a good blocker. My 9-year-old niece is a better blocker than Mike Gesicki. Now, Stephon Diggs over Tyreek Hill. Okay, I can respect that choice. Stephon Diggs is an excellent wide receiver. Jalen Waddle, I like. Corey Davis. Him over Chosen Anderson. Robbie Chosen, whatever he wants to call himself. I don't have an issue with that, but the Jets got rid of. I mean, a bunch of teams have gotten rid of Anderson because he's a headache. He's a headache to deal with, but he keeps on getting signed because he's got a lot of talent. Mm-hmm. As far as your line, I don't really have much of an issue with the line other than Mekhi Becton. Mekhi Becton hasn't stayed healthy. He hasn't shown the commitment to football that you want out of your right tackle. He's constantly overweight, constantly coming in overweight. And I also would have taken Teron Armstead over Deion Dawkins if we're going on pure talent alone. Other than that, I mean, other than those 5 things, I don't.
C minus is a little harsh though. It literally stabbed me right here.
Now, I mean, Brees Hall was a good choice. I think you're going off based off potential. If he comes back from his injury, if he comes back from his injury at 100%, you're certainly right on that pick. But at this current moment, he's still on the physically unable to perform list. So we'll see how that works out. So C- with room for improvement.
It's all about potential. All about potential.
Absolutely.
You're exactly right. I'm going to turn it over to Chris, and then I'll give you my assessment on this team. So, Chris, go ahead.
I like your list, Dom. I like your list. I would give it a B minus because I do like the fact that you did go for picks based on potential, which I also took the same approach when it came to my offensive line. I will admit that I'm not an expert by any stretch of the imagination when it comes to offensive line, so I had to do a lot of research in preparing for this episode right here. So I do see a lot of similar picks, and I don't agree necessarily with Keith's opinion on Mekhi Becton because looking at his stats, his combine report and looking at just the player he is, I think Mekhi Becton has probably some of the best upside out of the line because he is a big individual. And like Cave said, he does come in overweight, but as this, big, massive individual who comes in like 360 pounds, he's really a force to be reckoned with. And he's fast. He can run he runs the 40-yard at a 5.1. So he probably has the most potential on that pick, on your list. But as for the rest of the list, I like the pick in Brees Hall. That shows a little bias, but you rocking with your team. I, of course, went in a different direction. Stephon Diggs is wide receiver 1. It's not my personal choice. But besides that, your list is solid. It's a solid list, Dom.
Appreciate it.
I'm gonna go with the grade that I was praying for when I was going into school. This is something that even Nickel City Mafia kind of made a little reference to. He said that you get a lot of C's in school, so you're pretty much used to it. So no surprise that Keith gave you a C minus. So for me, I was always striving for B plus to A minus range. So I'm going to give you an A minus on this grade. I do like it a lot. I think that you hit the nail on the coffin with obviously Josh Allen. Got a lot of Buffalo Bills on here, and being honest rather than kidding aside, I do think that overall it came down to, for left tackle, it was either Teron Armstead or Deion Dawkins. Both of them are excellent. Dawkins has stayed healthier than Teron Armstead overall. Yeah. So I can understand either way, you choosing Dawkins or Armstead. For me, left guard was kind of like all over the place for the AFC East. It really came down to, there isn't a good choice, to be honest with you. So I think that's in terms of the starting 11, I would say the weakest position overall for every team in the AFC East would be left guard. So for me, Connor McGovern, great pick that you have there. And then Mitch Morse, you could have went with David Andrews. You could have went with even Connor Williams or Connor McGovern up in for the Jets. So you could have went with anybody on that list. Every single one of them, I think one of the strongest positions that there is on the offensive line has to be center. So I understand you could have went in different directions, but I do feel that Mitch Morse has been a focal point for the Bills offensive line. He's a true veteran, comes in and, he's great in pass blocking, can improve a little bit in the run blocking game, but, having the whole entire Bills left side, I like it a lot. And then in terms of if we could upgrade the Bills offensive line, and this is just my preference, to put Vera Tucker and then Mekhi Becton on that list, that's going to help Josh Allen if you did have him out there. So I love the list. A minus for me overall. Kind of a little bit questionable having Ken Dorsey as the offensive coordinator, even though, I have to praise him so much being as I'm a Bills guy.
Yeah.
Questionable some decisions that he makes. I think that in year 2, if he can get a little bit better in terms of his play calling ability and making decisions at the right time, it would be good for him. But you could have went with guys like there's Frank Smith in Miami, or you could have went with the guy that actually does call the plays in Miami and Mike McDaniels. So it really came down to who were you deciding. You did do it right compared to Keith and I, where we went with in a different direction, but you did it in terms of who was the offensive coordinator. So I do respect this list a lot. And of the offensive coordinators, I would say it's got to be Ken Dorsey.
It was basically a coin flip, to be honest, because I don't know. I'm not too keen on, I actually almost picked the Patriots OC, only
O'Brien.
because
Right, Bill
only
O'Brien.
because what he did for Alabama. So it kind of I almost went that direction, but then I didn't want to give Chris too many props. So
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And I do agree with this comment from Nickel City Mafia as well. I do think that the weakest position that you did choose on this list was Gesicki being the tight end.
the tight end.
There's, tight end is a little bit weak in the AFC East right now as well. If Hunter Henry can have similar numbers to where he had in his first year in New England, then he can make a name for himself. But it just depends on what Mac Jones is going to do this year. And then I would have went with either Hunter Henry, or you could have went with Dawson Knox. Either way, I mean, it is a weak position overall, but I mean, it just depends.
I think out of the AFC East, the two best tight ends are on the Patriots. Dawson Knox hasn't really proved himself to me yet, but it's a little biased, but
you're right though. But it's in terms of overall where Dawson Knox has gotten from Ole Miss, only having 3 catches there, to now in the NFL making a name for himself. I would say he has gotten a lot better, but that's just my perspective, being as I'm a Bills fan. So let me turn it over to the second guy on this list and talking to Keith, giving him a chance to talk about his list and why he is going with a ton of Dolphins on this list.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So like I said, as you notice, like Brett said, as you'll notice, there's a lot of Dolphins on this list. So the Dolphins that aren't on the list, Josh Allen, I think it's obvious. I think we're all probably taking Josh Allen. He's top 3 quarterback. It's pretty undeniable the things he can do with the football. So, Josh Allen has to be on this list. My running back is Ramondre Stevenson. I really love his tough between the tackles running. I love his receiving out of the backfield. I probably would have gone with Breece Hall had it not been for his injury. But Ramondre Stevenson, you really can't go wrong with him. I like the Dolphins running backs, but they're a committee, and none of them are bell cows. None of them are going to be expected to carry the ball 250 times in the season. So I think Ramondre Stevenson is the Patriots' bell cow. They're going to ride him to success or failure, whatever it may be. So I like Ramondre Stevenson a lot. And the only other non-Dolphin I have on this list is Hunter Henry, who I really like as a tight end. I've always liked Hunter Henry, going back to his days in San Diego / LA. I've always liked Hunter Henry a lot. I do not like Mike Gesicki. I don't like the fact that he calls himself a tight end, yet he doesn't block. I don't think you can call yourself a tight end if you don't block, honestly. So I like Hunter Henry. I was tempted to put Dalton Kincaid on this list, but if he hasn't played an NFL snap yet, so I wanted to pump the brakes on that. Now, as far as the Dolphins that I did take, I took Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. Tyreek Hill is my number 1 wide receiver. You couldn't go wrong with Stephon Diggs in Buffalo, or even Garrett Wilson if you wanted to go in that direction. But Tyreek Hill is my boy. I'm going with Tyreek Hill. Jalen Waddle is the best number 2 wide receiver in this league. He could be a number 1 on plenty of other teams, including the Patriots, if he was on the Patriots. Thank God he's not on the Patriots. And then Robbie Anderson I went with. Robbie Chosen Anderson. I went with Robbie Anderson over guys like Corey Davis in New York, simply because I like his potential, and he just adds more speed to this Dolphins offense. And then Dolphins offensive line, I went with the Dolphins offensive line. My reasoning being, I like continuity on the offensive line. That's such an underrated aspect to most offensive lines. You need to be able to know that the guy next to you is going to be doing what you expect him to be doing, what he does all the time. And these guys have been together for a couple of seasons now, and I just wanted to keep that continuity in line. I could have gone with better offensive linemen like Elijah Bear Tucker in New York, potentially David Andrews in New England, even Mitch Morse in Buffalo. I could have gone with better guys. I would have gone with Teron Armstead over Deion Dawkins anyway. I probably would have gone with Robert Hunt over all the other right guards in the league anyway. But I chose to just keep the Dolphins offensive line in continuity and I know I'm going to catch some flack for that, and I'm fully aware of that, and I'm fully prepared for it. But I like just keeping your offensive line intact. So, all right, bring it. Come on.
All right. I'm going to start with Dom first. I'm going to let him go first, and then I'll turn it over to Chris and then myself. So, Dom, go ahead.
Honestly, I'm gonna say a B. There's two picks that I'm not really a fan of, which is Robbie Anderson, which we talked about earlier, which Keith, you said originally too, he's a headache. But I do like his speed. Quickly. Yeah, I do like his speed, and you are right. I just I'm a little biased because obviously I went with Corey Davis. And then the other one too is I actually, if I probably could go back and do my list over again, I probably would have done Hunter Henry instead, which is probably what I should have done. So that's kind of a kick in the chest for me, being, little whatever. And then running back situation too. I think he's probably, if I didn't take Hall, I was going to take Stevenson. So those are, and I'd say the two issues I have picks with were the ones that I would actually swap out, plus with Robbie Anderson as well is what I would swap him out. But Stevenson, I like that pick. I like Hunter Henry. And then your offensive line, I like the idea of the continuity. The only issue I have is they may have that continuity, but I think it's a little weak in comparison to the protection potential of what they should have. Hence this situation with Tua. So that's kind of why I mean, Jets had the same issue, which is why they tried to draft more offensive line this year to help protect Zach Wilson at the time, and then obviously Aaron Rodgers and all that other stuff. But that's my red flag for me is the Miami offensive line.
That's fair. I totally understand that.
Chris, go ahead, bud.
Okay, so Keith, I don't really have too much to say about your offense. I mean, I agree with Dom, the points that he made about the offensive line, that, if it was a good offensive line, then Tua probably wouldn't be facing the issues that he's facing right now in the league. So, but like I said, when rating Dom's team, I am no expert when it comes to offensive tackles by any stretch of the imagination. So a lot of these guys, I can't even, I can't really speak on their stats and how they've been performing. I can just speak on what I've known. And I know that Tua was in concussion protocol, and that was the biggest struggle that they faced last year, was pass blocking, run blocking, things of that nature. The rest of your list, I really like a lot of similar picks. Of course, Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, that's probably the best 1-2 combo in the NFL, so you can't complain about that. Ramondre Stevenson, definitely a workhorse, stepped up really big last year for the Patriots, and it's only going to get better. He reminds me of James White, but just a little bit stronger, a little bit more explosive. So he has that potential to really be that workhorse for the Patriots, which is why they felt comfortable giving away Deion Lewis to the Bills this year, because they found their guy in Ramondre Stevenson. So that's beautiful. Wide receiver 3, I don't have too much to say about that. Robbie Anderson has shown potential. He has big play capability, as he did show in Carolina. And, and so it's going to be very interesting to see how he performs on Miami. I mean, that's a lot of speed in Miami. So if they can keep Tua upright, then they're going to have a really, really dangerous wide receiver core. So it's going to be fun to watch. Hunter Henry is also a very good pick. He is probably the best tight end in the AFC East. So, that is a really good pick. So I give your team an A. I was like a lot. I mean, sorry. I'm going to give your team a C+, only based off the offensive line. So besides that, your offense looks good, though.
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah, to your point on the offensive line, I mean, Tua faced those concussion protocols last year. That can't be denied. But Dolphins' offensive line was also very injured last year. Liam Eichenberg, Austin Jackson, left guard, right tackle, they missed a lot of time last year. And Liam Eichenberg was one of the guys I was actually going to leave off the list in favor of Isaiah Wynn. But if I'm going with continuity, I have to go with Liam Eichenberg, don't I? Isaiah Wynn's a new arrival. So yeah. But I understand what you're saying there, Chris.
So I'm going to give you a grade based off of what I always got in high school. So school. So I'm going to give you a D in terms of. So I'm only giving you a D for the offensive line. In terms of the position players for the offense, I will give you a B plus on that. So I'm gonna give it a C grade overall.
Okay.
But just based off of the offensive line, I do think that there's better options that you could grab. Austin Jackson, to me, as a right tackle, I'm thinking about protecting to his blind side. So one thing that we didn't necessarily think about when we did this show was having a left-handed quarterback. And that's something that, for you have to worry about that. Austin Jackson.
Josh Allen's my quarterback.
Well, no, I'm saying in terms of having a lefty quarterback your, in this situation. So I get why you would have chosen for your right tackle, Austin Jackson. He's playing more of the left tackle role, so it's kind of flipped around. Yeah. So that in terms of that, I'm thinking that's a weak position with Tua. He hasn't been the best, but overall, I do think that you could have went with different options there at the right tackle position. I do think that Mekhi Becton is probably the better option that you could have went with. Right guard Robert Hunt has been injured quite a bit too.
No, he hasn't.
I'm not thinking of. No, I'm thinking of
Liam Eichenberg.
I'm thinking of Eichenberg. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But Robert Hunt has been a little bit of a weakness. I'm sorry, on the team. So for right guard, I would have gone in a different direction too. Vera Tucker has a lot of potential. He's been pretty good as well. But the one thing that we've talked about is the injury bug that's been hitting a lot of players. So I understand Robert Hunt being available quite a bit. I get where you came from on there. A good option there. In terms of wide receivers, I don't necessarily agree with having the Chosen Anderson as your wide receiver 3. I do think that, like Nickel City Mafia said, there's some better options out there. Braxton Berrios as well. I do like him a lot. But there's a reason why Chosen Anderson is now on his 4th team. That's something that's a little bit concerning. You could have went in a couple of other directions. There's some big name guys that are out there too, Corey Davis as well. But I do think with Chosen Anderson, you do have in play that he could have 1,000 yards. So that's something that you could get again of all the guys that are wide receiver 3. So I get that too. And then tight end, I do still think that, that's a weak position. And Nickel City Mafia did bring up a good point here that he said earlier. He said, keep your eyes on 7th round pick, Zach Kuntz. He's a 6'8", 245-pound guy, runs a 40-inch vertical and 4.55. So
that's a monster.
He's a beast.
He was a guy that I was hoping the Dolphins were going to draft, actually. And, the Dolphins decided to draft Elijah Higgins, converted wide receiver, instead of drafting a freak of nature like that guy. So
do you ever wonder, sorry, not to cut you off, Keith, do you ever wonder how these scouts get paid all this money and don't see the same thing that we sitting at home see?
Right.
Yeah.
It's interesting. There's a guy that I talked about on my podcast yesterday in Alex Austin. He's a cornerback that was picked in the 7th round for the Buffalo Bills. On Draft Network, he was projected to go 97th overall, and he didn't get picked until the 200s. So a little bit surprising how over the last couple of years, I've noticed it more, how draft boards have been totally different from what the people are drafting. So I don't know if it's because of maybe COVID or something has happened. You never know. Or, a lot of people rely on Mel Kiper or Todd McShay for your draft advice. They don't know everything that, NFL scouts know. Maybe it's stuff like it could very well be that they didn't test well, or they didn't, their visit didn't go well, something like that. Or maybe they're just not a fit for the team. So you don't think about that in terms of, okay, this is who we're going to draft. So I do agree with your point, Chris, though, what you said about, how they get it wrong so often. But
Yeah.
It's something to think about too.
Yeah, even when I think about quarterbacks like Jalen Hurts and Lamar Jackson went last pick of the first round. So many teams passed up on him. Every team could have had Lamar Jackson, and then it's like, but if you watch what he did in Louisville, it's like it's a no-brainer pick almost. This guy was killing it. He was a running back playing quarterback, and no one picked him up. No one picked him up besides the Ravens with the very last pick, and they got a steal because the guy did the same thing in the NFL. It translated well, so it's just like, how are they not seeing this? Why would all these NFL teams, 30 NFL teams, pass up on him? Doesn't make sense to me.
And think about Tom Brady too.
Yeah.
As much as guys around us, the three of us, besides Chris, probably hate Tom Brady a lot. Don't get me wrong. You think about Tom Brady, being picked at 199th overall. How do you miss out on that?
Yeah.
Talent. You guys got a lot of Super Bowls out of it. Don't get me wrong. You're probably pretty happy. Not happy right now based off of how the team's doing, but
I know we still got six.
You had a 20-year run that was pretty good.
Yeah, we still got six. We still got six chips, so
I get
Tom
it.
Brady also didn't even start at Michigan some of the time either. He started behind who was that guy? Drew. He played for the Cowboys for a little bit. I forget his name.
Bledsoe.
Tom Brady wasn't. What's that?
Bledsoe.
No. He played behind the guy at Michigan. Drew something. Doesn't matter. Point is, Tom Brady didn't always start at Michigan either, so he was always underestimated, even by guys that were closest to him.
It was Brian Greasy that was there before him.
Drew Henson. It was Drew Henson.
Drew Henson. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm thinking of. Drew Henson. Yeah. So yeah, it's such an inexact science. Is what the point is. Even Tom Brady didn't start in college, and he became the greatest of all time.
Right, and then think about more recently. I mean, Brock Purdy. Who would have guessed that Brock Purdy would be as good as he is right now? Now he is dealing with an injury, but we'll see how his career develops now after the injury. So it'll be interesting to see. Let me slide
very glad
into
that Brock Purdy. Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I'm very glad that Brock Purdy turned out to be such a good quarterback because Jimmy Garoppolo should have never left the Patriots. Honestly, he should have never left.
You're exactly right. So I'm going to slide into my starting 11, talking about a few guys that you might disagree with me on a couple of these picks, but for me, I mean, everybody's going to go with Josh Allen. We already know that on the list. For running back, I had honorable mention on here, Ramondre Stevenson. I do love him. I think that he's a very good fit in New England. I just think that Breece Hall gives you a little bit more explosiveness in terms of running back position. I do like Ramondre Stevenson, but I do think he's going to be in a running back by committee type of offense this year. It'll be interesting to see how many yards he has this year. But I do think Breece Hall is going to be comeback player of the year this year. And then wide receiver, I could have went with Stephon Diggs, but I do think that Tyreek Hill is just a little bit better than Stephon Diggs overall right now. It'll be interesting to see what happens this year. But in terms of the numbers that Tyreek has had overall and his speed, I think that pairing him with Josh Allen would be incredible. And just the deep balls that Josh can throw and put on Tyreek Hill would be incredible. Wide receiver 2, I mean, if you're looking at true wide receiver 2s on a team, Jalen Waddle is going to be my option, even though for me, you could have went with another guy because Jalen Waddle does command wide receiver 1 numbers in terms of an offense. So if you're talking about wide receiver 1 numbers that he's commanding and take him off the list, I probably would have went with Gabe Davis in that situation, just because I do think that Gabe's going to get a lot better this year. And I think he's going to depart the Buffalo Bills at the end of the season and become a true wide receiver 1 on another team. For wide receiver 3, I went with Corey Davis. I loved him in Tennessee. I think that he was a very good option. Now he's kind of stuck on the depth chart, but it'll be interesting to see with a a really good quarterback that he has now in Aaron Rodgers. We'll see if his numbers can improve and if he can stay healthy too. And then at tight end, Dawson Knox, just based off of what he did towards the end of the year, I really liked his production. He had 5 touchdowns towards the end of the year, and then he was really coming on into his own. And now that he's competing with Dalton Kincaid, that's going to be interesting to see. But I think that Dalton Kincaid is going to play the slot position rather than true tight end in terms of where he'll line up. And then for me, at left tackle, I chose Deion Dawkins over Teron Armstead just based off of the injury history of Armstead. If both are healthy, I probably would have went with Armstead in that situation. Left guard, I went with Connor McGovern just based off of I really liked what he did in Dallas. I think that he was very good in the run blocking game. And then he can improve a little bit more in the passing game. But it'll be great to see what he does this year in Buffalo. Now, I do know that there's probably some better options that you could go with at left guard, but I do think that that's the weakest position overall on the offensive line for the whole entire AFC East. Center, for me, Mitch Morse, really like what he's done. And number one, his pass blocking ability. He's been incredible in pass blocking overall, not allowing pretty much any sacks over the last few years. And then on the right side, I went with more potential than I did with anybody else. I went with Vera Tucker based off of, him staying healthy, number one, and just what he can do. He's an incredible athlete. Really like what he can do. And then same thing with Becton, just another guy that if he stays healthy, he's the best one of the bunch in terms of right tackles. Not too thrilled with Spencer Brown on my team. I'm not going to put him on the list. But if there's another option, if somebody else was out there, I probably would have went with in another direction besides Mekhi Becton. But just wasn't thrilled with everybody that was out there for right tackles. And then for me, the offensive coach that I'm picking is just because of play calling ability. Mike McDaniels, he does make the plays for the Miami Dolphins, even though he isn't a true offensive coordinator. I would have went with Mike McDaniels. If you're asking me who I would pick as my offensive coordinator necessarily, I probably would go with Ken Dorsey based off of I didn't love what Bill O'Brien did over the last couple of years in Houston. And then Nathaniel Hackett last year, didn't love him at all. So I'm not picking him. And then Frank Smith, doesn't make the play calls. So it really came down to just Ken Dorsey. If he can get better towards this year and as a second-year player, then it'll be good to see. And I can't wait to see what he does. So I'll turn it over to you guys. I'll start with Keith giving me an assessment of this grade. Hopefully you can be nice to me and not give me, like my report card always was. I usually got F's or D's on my report card. So be fair with me,
I would have gone with a B, but I had to knock down half letter grade for calling Mike McDaniels. He's not Josh McDaniels.
Oh my God. I put it on there wrong. Oh man.
But no, I like your picks. Breece Hall is obviously a guy that, is worthy of being on this list. I went with Ramondre Stevenson because of health, honestly. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, they make sense. Corey Davis makes sense over Chosen Anderson. Dawson Knox was a guy I actually considered for this list instead of my pick of Hunter Henry. I went with Hunter Henry because I think he's a slightly better tight end, but I think you can't really go wrong with Dawson Knox. And your offensive line, I like. Like I said, I chose all Dolphins offensive linemen because I think the Dolphins, by and large, have the best offensive line as a whole in this division. I do. As a whole, I think the Dolphins have the best offensive line in this division. There was a show on Nickel City Mafia that Jake and I went through our offensive lines, and the Dolphins actually beat out the Bills. So we could go through it with the Jets and Patriots as well, but I think the Dolphins actually do have the best offensive line in this division. So, but like I said, there are better offensive linemen to be had.
Right.
individual.
I think based off of potential, that's why I'm giving you that face a little bit. But I do probably overall based off of PFF grades. PFF is very biased towards their situations. You're probably right in those terms.
So, but I don't hate your list. There are certainly changes I would make to it, obviously, but it's a good list overall. So I give you a B-.
Okay, I respect that, Chris.
You know what? I don't know. Your list has a lot of some similar picks, especially when it comes to offensive line. I can't complain about your wide receiver choices besides Corey Davis. I don't think Corey Davis has, he was good on Tennessee, but playing behind A.J. Brown, A.J. Brown's a big distraction. So I think there were a lot of better choices for a wide receiver 3 in that AFC East. Josh Allen, everyone picked, Josh Allen's a no-brainer, can't complain. Of course, I think Ramondre Stevenson has a bigger upside than Breece Hall. So, of course, that's just my opinion. But besides that, I'll give you a list of B-. I can't see anything wrong with it at all.
Sounds good, man. I appreciate that. Now, remember, behind the scenes, you guys could have called me out and said, hey, listen, you spelled Mike McDaniels wrong. It's not Mike McDaniels, it's Mike McDaniel. You could have told me that. Yeah.
Listen, I didn't see the list. I didn't see the.
It's all good. Nobody said anything, guys. Come on. And I sent it over to Keith. Come on.
Yeah, sorry, but did you send me your offensive coach?
I did send you the offensive coach. I'm pretty sure. So
I should have.
Sounds like a setup. Sounds like a setup.
It might be a setup.
I forgot to mention that the offensive coordinator. I don't really care for Mike McDaniels because I don't feel like he has too much creative, offensive play calling when it comes to when it comes to the Miami offense. It's kind of just like Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill running slants as fast as they can, getting a wide open. I mean, they're faster than most defensive backs and safeties, so I don't really see too much creativity when it comes to that. Not like an Andy Reid type, Reid-esque type offense.
He comes from this Kyle Shanahan. Comes from the Kyle Shanahan mold. Now, what you have to understand about Mike McDaniel and that offense, that Kyle Shanahan offense, is that it takes a year or two to really understand what's going on in that offense. They've always said that that offense is notoriously difficult to learn. Mm-hmm. So I think you're going to see more of that creativity that you're talking about, Chris, this season.
Okay. All right, let's go. I'm all for it.
Turn it over to Dom real quick, so he can give his assessment as well.
So I'm actually gonna go with an A. I like the list. Obviously, we have similar picks. Obviously minus the tight end and wide receiver 1. But I do like what you said about the potential for Josh Allen, Tyreek Hill, the way Josh throws the ball, obviously the way Hill runs. So that kind of would have been my second right go-to right there for the same reasons. Everything you said is spot on. Like you went with a bunch of upside and a bunch of potential. I did the same, which that's what we were going for because I think that's probably the best bet. I know everybody has their doubts about Hall based on the injury and, if he's going to come back 100%. And then same thing, freaking Stevenson's right underneath him. I would have taken Stevenson over, one of the other Jet running backs anyway, or any of the other AFC East running backs. But for the most part, I'm A all the way through.
Appreciate it, man. Now, let me ask you guys real quick before I let Dom go and give his team. He gives his pick on his team. Let me ask you this: if you were going based off of the top 4 or top 3 wide receivers for the AFC East, would you have probably picked? It's going to be Garrett Wilson, Tyreek Hill, and then Stephon Diggs. Is that going to be your top 3?
For me, yeah, 100%.
I'd probably go Waddle over Garrett Wilson right now, but yeah.
I think it'd be pretty similar.
So that's why when we made this list and I messaged you guys, that's why I said, hey, listen, let's not do that because it's going to be the same all the way around. I figured it was going to be something similar, Garrett Wilson or even Jalen Brown or Jalen Waddle. I'm sorry, I'm thinking Jalen Brown now with the Celtics after he got the Supermax deal.
Oh yeah.
Contract. Can't even dribble. Got $300 million.
Exactly. So, all right, let me turn it over to Chris right now and give his team an assessment.
Yes. So of course, Josh Allen, he's a no-brainer, probably the best, or they're not undeniably the best quarterback in the AFC East right now. So of course you got to go with Josh Allen. He can scramble, he can throw the ball, he does everything well. And so Ramondre Stevenson, like I said, last year in the offense for the Patriots really stepped up to the point where he was the workhorse for the offense. He can catch passes out the backfield. He can run strong. He's a strong runner. He can get through the tackles. He just has a tough playing style. So you gotta love him. Tyreek Hill, no brainer. He's probably the best wide receiver in the NFL. He's fast. He can make catches in coverage. He can jump really high. So. Contested catches. He can make a lot of contested catches. He runs routes really well. Tyreek Hill is hard to guard, and no matter who he's playing, he's going to get open. So, no brainer. I went with Juju Smith-Schuster over Jalen Waddle because one, if you have too many Dolphins on your team, it's already proved not to be a recipe for a winning formula. So I wasn't going to put too many Dolphins on my team.
Wow.
Wow. I like how it didn't go in my direction this time.
Right?
No. I was generous with the Jets. So but Juju Smith-Schuster, he has a lot of potential. Last season he surpassed his second best season. And he wasn't even a focal point of the Chiefs offense because as we know, Travis Kelce is always going to be the focal point of their offense, and some of the guys who were more seasoned on that team were able to step up, but he still had a pretty good productive season. So I think he'll have a better season with the Patriots, hopefully, if Mac Jones could get it right. McCall Hardman, I always like McCall Hardman. Him and Tyreek Hill in tandem was a great combination. He never really had the potential, or he never really had the chance to really take off because I think he suffered from a lot of drops. So hopefully, this is his 5th, 6th season. Hopefully, he'll get into form. But I think he has some of the highest potential out of the wide receiver threes that we do see on this list. Hunter Henry, no brainer. There's not too many great tight ends that you can see from the AFC East. So Hunter Henry, he had great season with the Chargers. It translated pretty well to the Dolphins as well. To the Patriots as well. He was a good bailout option for Mac Jones whenever he could possibly try and move the ball. So I think besides Dawson Knox, I think he's probably one of the best tight ends out there. On my list of tackles, I had to do a lot of research on because, like I said, I'm no expert when it comes to offensive linemen. So Deion Dawkins, he shows a lot of consistency. He's really reliable, especially as Josh Allen's blindside guard. Like blindside tackle, out of the 800 snaps that he played, he only gave up 4 sacks. So that's some really, really impressive stats. Laken Tomlinson, Pro Bowl guard coming from the 49ers. So hopefully the Jets haven't tainted him too bad yet. So we'll see how he continues to perform.
And there it is.
Yeah, he hasn't missed a game since 2007. He gives excellent run blocking. So that's why I picked him as my left guard. David Andrews, what can be said about David Andrews? He's one of the greatest centers in the NFL right now. He's only given up 1 sack and 600 reps. He's a staple of the Patriots offense. He's a massive key to our running game. And like I said, undoubtedly one of the best centers in the league right now. And the rest of the guys I picked on purely upside alone, like most of you guys. So Elijah Vera Tucker, he's fast, just like Mekhi Becton. They both ran about a 5'1" at a 40-yard dash. And that's a lot from Mekhi Becton because Mekhi Becton's about 60 pounds heavier than Elijah Vera Tucker. So that's very impressive stats right there. I think this is correct me if I'm wrong, but this is Vera Tucker's second season as a right guard. This is second season going in.
Yeah, number 2.
So he showed a lot of potential, a lot of improvement over the season. I think this year he should be able to make that Pro Bowl, that push to be like a Pro Bowl guard. He's going to be looking really good. And like I said, Mekhi Becton, if he can stay healthy, he's a big individual. He's big, he's strong, he's long, he's fast. So if he can stay healthy, I think he's going to be one of the great tackles in the AFC East. And that is my list.
Sounds good, man. I'll turn it over to Dom first. I know I said your name earlier that you were going to give your list first. I forgot the order that we did it in, to be honest with you. I got it a little bit lost.
We knew what you meant. We knew it.
We knew it, Hey, I messed it up a little bit. I did it in terms of how I had it on my email list that I sent out. So I knew that you were last on the email list when I sent it out, but we switched it up before the show. So I had the order wrong, but I'll go with Dom first, give your assessment on this, and then I'll go with Keith and then myself last.
So I'm I'm gonna go. We'll call it like a B plus, and A minus. Um, so I have three issues: Juju, McColl, and Lincoln Tomlinson. We'll start with the left guard. So yes, he had a Pro Bowl season with the 49ers. However, with the Jets, I think his pass blocking is a little bit needed to be desired. I think he has some room for improvement. Um, Obviously, with having a veteran quarterback with Aaron Rodgers, I don't think he's going to allow him to misstep and probably put a little bit of a foot in his ass in order to help protect him. So I don't think he's going to be let off a little bit easy with having, Zach Wilson as the rookie quarterback and not having that leadership to push his offensive line in that aspect as far as pass blocking. Run blocking, yes, definitely above par. Killer. I know with wide receiver threes, if we're talking about the Jets with Aaron Rodgers, I mean, you have that consistency and the continuity, which is, Keith's favorite word of the show today. And you have Lazard and you have Randall Cobb still. I think McCall Hardman falls too far back on the depth chart to be that, consistent, worthwhile number three in comparison. That's just me. That's, me being a little bit biased. I think that I don't like that pickup in the first place. But that's where I'm coming from. I think.
Why is that, Dom?
I don't think Lazard,
obviously, like Chris said earlier, like he wasn't the focal point in the Chiefs offense. So I don't think he got a fair shake in Kansas City as it is because of Travis Kelce. However, I think it's going to boil down to the relationship that Aaron Rodgers has with Cobb and Lazard. And I think it's just going to push him down the list because he's already done really well with Garrett Wilson in preseason with the videos and the updates that I've seen. And I just don't see it. I don't see it.
I do think that as far as when it comes to like the depth chart on the Jets, I think Lazard is going to be a wide receiver too. I don't know if he'll surpass Garrett Wilson because Garrett Wilson has a lot of upside. He showed a lot of potential last season. But I know Lazard is going to be a wide receiver too, only because they already had some type of connection in Green Bay. So I don't think you could put Lazard in that wide receiver 3 category battling with.
I would take Davis over McCall.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
I liked him better in Tennessee as well. But like I said, I also don't think that Hardman got a fair shake in Kansas City either. Same thing. That's only time will tell. And if we're talking about upside, I think he does have potential. And I think if he does get his fair shake, I think, I honestly think that the Jets wide receiving core is probably the best in the AFC East. As far as total depth. I mean, wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, obviously Hill and Waddle, but as far as I think well-rounded and more depth for the chart, I think the Jets have it better.
I give it to the Bills personally.
I would say Dolphins.
We're both biased.
The Dolphins have a good depth chart too, where you have Jalen Waddle, you have Tyreek Hill, Chosen Anderson, and then Braxton Berrios as well. So
yeah.
Who came from the Jets?
They just need a better quarterback.
Agreed.
Right.
Agreed. Or a better offensive line.
You guys will see. You'll see this.
So it sounds like another bet's coming.
Yeah, it's coming along. But
that's where I'm at.
Sounds good, man. And Chris, you gave your assessment already?
This is my team.
Oh, I'm sorry, my bad. Keith, my bad.
So, I'm actually gonna disagree with Don a little bit here. I like the Mecole Hardman pick. I think Mecole Hardman is a really underrated signing by the Jets. He offers a lot of speed. Now, what he needs to learn is route running a little bit better. He needs to do that a little bit better. And I think Aaron Rodgers will show him how to do that. As far as Randall Cobb being on the Jets is concerned, to me, he's more of a 20 to 30 catch guy for the Jets at this stage of his career. He's more of a player coach than anything else. I wouldn't expect much from Randall Cobb. So I think Mecole Hardman could step into that wide receiver 3/4 role with Corey Davis and do some special things. He's the kind of guy that Aaron Rodgers actually gravitates towards. In the you think about guys that Aaron Rodgers has thrown to in the past, guys like
Devontae Adams.
Devontae Adams, but Devontae Adams also is huge. He's a massive wide receiver. But I'm thinking more guys, more speed guys, like your Jordy Nelsons, like your Mecole Hardman. He's a little lighter than Jordy Nelson, but he's in that kind of mold where he's really fast and he's really quick. And if Rodgers can get with Mecole Hardman and throw those back shoulder throws that he loves to throw so much, that Lazard hasn't really excelled at throughout his career, that Garrett Wilson will excel at, then Mecole Hardman can become a favorite target of Aaron Rodgers. So I like that pick a lot, actually. Laken Tomlinson, however, I don't like. Laken Tomlinson came over from the 49ers and struggled with the Jets last season. So while there is potential for him to improve, I think that there were better left guard options. Now, as Brett said, left guard is probably the weakest position amongst all these teams in the AFC East. But Laken Tomlinson, I think you could have gone with a better guy than that. Probably Connor McGovern if you're picking individual offensive linemen.
Right.
It appears that nobody picked any Dolphins offensive linemen, so maybe I was wrong on my assessment.
Yeah, and you at least you said it.
Hey,
but
I'm fan vote out, and see what the fans think. So that's the next step.
Yeah, my pick on Laken Tomlinson was based purely on his dominant run blocking performance. I know, he's such a great run blocker that he can work on the pass blocking. Of course, that's something that's going to come, natural. Something can come with practice, but he's already a fantastic run blocker. So if he could just round the rest of his game out, then he's going to be a great left guard, probably, one of the better left guards in the AFC East.
So how much of do you contribute the run game blocking for Tomlinson to playing alongside Trent Wilson? Trent Williams, I'm sorry.
I mean, I guess you can contribute a little bit of it to it, but honestly, at the end of the day, the offensive line is the entire unit. It's like not one position is going to block, not one position is going to be dependent because they can rush 3, they can rush 4, but it's the offense, and then you can always have the safeties or the linebackers drop down. But it's it's the entire unit to catch those blitz, catch those sneaky blitz, and just catch those guys coming out the backfield with a head full of steam. So. Yeah, I mean, you got to give the guy their props when it's due,
Well, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, hopefully he doesn't have a step back this year, but, being as he's not going to have a Pro Bowl left tackle next to him this year in Will suggest. So it'll be interesting to see. Hopefully he does have a really good year. I'm hoping for that. For me, overall, I'm giving this grade a B+. I think it's a really good team. Could have went in a couple of different directions in terms of the wide receivers. I would have went with Jalen Waddle over Juju Smith. Mecole Hardman, I don't think it was the best decision overall in terms of wide receiver 3s. There's a couple of other options that you could have went with. One guy that I would have went with is Corey Davis or even Chosen Anderson. I just think that there's better options there. But I do like how you rounded it up with Hunter Henry, and then the offensive line. I do think it's very good. So I'm going to give you a B+ on that. Like it a lot, and that's a good way to wrap up.
Don't forget my offensive coordinator. I went with Bill O'Brien because Bill O'Brien has experience with the Patriots. He's been here before. He was there with us during our undefeated season as a quarterbacks coach. So Bill O'Brien has been there. So I'm hoping, with all those years playing under Tom Brady, he can hopefully mold Mac Jones into the quarterback that he was. Granted, he did have some rough seasons with the Texans, but of course the Texans, after losing to Deshaun Watson behind Tom Savage, and then who's the guy that they got on Texas right now? Who's the
Davis Mills.
Yeah, Davis Mills is like, how can you blame him for that? Once Deshaun Watson was gone, who was a Heisman who's a Heisman quarterback, a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback. But once he was gone, it's like you get these two random quarterbacks who just
well, Chris, I don't blame Bill O'Brien, the coach. I blame Bill O'Brien, the general manager.
Yeah, completely agree.
That was.
But he was 0-4 before they kicked him out. It was just like he didn't even have a chance to play the whole. He didn't even have a chance to be like the.
He gave up King's ransom for Laramie Tunsil to the Dolphins, and he just let the Dolphins really just fleece him on that deal. Now, I mean, thank you, Bill O'Brien. Really appreciate all the draft picks, but
right,
that's not a move you can make as especially if you have a team that really wasn't ready to compete yet. You weren't a left tackle away. The Texans weren't a left tackle away, and Bill O'Brien gave away the farm for a left tackle. So I think Bill O'Brien's a really good coach, but put him in a GM, that's the non-starter right there.
Well, then again, go ahead, Brett.
I was just going to say that the Houston Texans were a massage parlor away from having a really
good... Oh, my God. I was going to say, you never know what vision these guys and the higher-ups of the NFL have in their head, So you never know what vision he really had before they was like, listen, this is not going to work. It's not like like I said, it's not like they had a winning season. They still had the need for a quarterback, and they still have a giant need for a quarterback at the Houston Texans. So if they was in a rebuild period and he was like, hey, I'm trying to rebuild and work this team around, and it was like, hey man, we're 0-4, we're gonna let you go, then he probably didn't have he really didn't have a good chance to let his vision come to fruition. So that's the only thing I can say about Bill O'Brien. But as the Patriots offensive coach, he's been here before. He's familiar with the system, so I think he's going to be exactly what we need to get Mac Jones on the right track. So I'm looking forward to that.
So we need to stop recording for a second because I'm actually going to say this. I'm honestly pretty excited about that whole situation. I honestly see what he can do and what he does with Mac Jones to see how well he can bring him up to where he needs to be, or at least come closer to what the Patriots need in order to have a Tom Brady replacement.
I agree with Dom. If anybody's going to get the best out of Mac Jones, it's going to be Bill O'Brien.
Exactly. I completely agree. I've called it already, and I know people say that I'm a little biased, but I'm calling the Patriots to the Super Bowl right now. So that's my pick.
Sounds like our fourth bet or something.
That's my dark horse pick for 2023-24. That's my dark horse pick.
You better put $100 on that.
I just want to know what's in that drink that Chris is drinking.
This right here is Sweetwater 420 Pale Ale. I only drink IPAs.
It's got to be something strong. Trust me. I don't know what that is, but I'm telling you, that's a little strong. Based off of last week, he went on.
I'm only drinking Coke. Maybe I should get an IPA. I don't know.
You should.
Listen, Chris went on a totally wild side last week. Now he's going on another wild side this week where he has making Super Bowl predictions already. So,
listen, I said this. I
take a week off from Chris next week.
Listen, I said that early in the season. I called the Patriots to go to I called the Patriots as the second best in the AFC East because I got nothing but confidence in them. I know our biggest issue was our offensive coordinator because we had Matt Patricia who just wasn't that guy. He's cool on defense, but you can't have a defensive coordinator play offense. So that was our biggest issue, was the fact that Mac Jones could not move the ball. So that was my call a few weeks ago. Listen, I'm still doing well. So I got nothing but faith in. We lost Brett.
Did we lose Brett?
Yeah, I've got nothing but faith in the on the Patriots to move, really make some big leaps and bounds this season in the offensive category. So I'm looking forward to that. I forgot what else I was gonna say, but yeah, that's about it. I'm gonna always make the bold predictions because go big or go home. Go big or go home.
Are you keeping track of our bets at this rate? Because I think we only
got one. We only got one bet, and that's what I was gonna say. Because I bet the Patriots to finish second in the division. Everyone picked them to be last. Everyone's picking them last, but I know that they're gonna be second in the division. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens this season.
That's awesome, man. Sorry I lost you guys for a second. I had my dog come over and accidentally hit the buttons on the the laptop that I'm on, so I apologize about that.
What type of dog you got, Brett?
So I have a golden lab. Now she's asleep. Yeah.
Okay.
That was quick.
That was
pretty
quick. That was real quick.
Real quick, man. It happens though, but it's what it is. Let me see if I can get that back. That's better. That looks much better than where we were before. But great show so far, guys. Before I let you go, let's go around the AFC East real quick, talking about some of the moves that have happened over the last couple of days. Any news coming before training camp from any of your squads? I'll start with Keith.
Well, 3 guys reported that were talking about holding out. Connor Williams, the Dolphins center, and the defensive tackle Zach Sealer and Christian Wilkins. They all reported the cancer. They're not going to hold out. That's a really good thing for the Dolphins. They don't need any of that drama right now. Also, Tyreek Hill's legal issues have been resolved. Doesn't look like he's going to be suspended. His pockets may be a little lighter, but he will be a full go for the Dolphins camp for the regular season. And also, I wanted to bring up out in LA, their quarterback just got a brand new deal, and he's going to he's resetting the quarterback market as we speak. Of course, I'm blanking on the name. What the hell is it?
Justin Herbert.
Justin Herbert. Thank you. Justin Herbert just got a brand new deal from the Chargers. So he's resetting the quarterback market as we speak. Josh Allen probably going to be looking to make a little bit more money in the future. Jets are set with Aaron Rodgers, and Tua will be looking for a new deal at the end of the season. If he's able to stay healthy, he's going to be looking at a new deal, probably in the neighborhood of what Justin Herbert's going to be making. So that's something to keep your eye on in the coming months.
You don't deserve that.
I'm going to go over these are the top 12.
Justin Herbert doesn't deserve that contract either.
He does. Justin Herbert was balling.
Was he?
Yes,
Let me go over
he was.
Still hasn't won a playoff game, man.
So I don't think Tua has won one either.
So let me go over the top 12 quarterbacks in terms of average salary that they're making. Right, this is as of right now after Justin Herbert just got paid. So Herbert's number 1 with $52.5 million a year. Then you have Lamar Jackson at $52 million. Jalen Hurts is third, $51 million. Aaron Rodgers.
Hold on 1 second, Brett. How much is Justin Herbert making?
$52.5 million.
Wow.
You gonna tell me he's earned that, Chris? Come on now.
No, not that much, but I would pay him before I pay Tua.
I agree.
So then you have Aaron Rodgers at $50.27 million. Rounding out the top 5 is Russell Wilson at $48.52. Yeah, Kyler Murray is 6th with $46.1 million. Deshaun Watson at $46 million. Then Patrick Mahomes at 8. He is going to make $45 million. Then you have Josh Allen at $43 million. Then Daniel Jones rounds out the top 10 at $40 million a year. Matthew Stafford 11th at $40 million. Dak Prescott $40 million as well, and that rounds out the top 12. So it's kind of a big jump up from
guys. So of those guys, I mean, who you can really point to that really has earned that salary, you know?
Yeah, it's kind of funny.
Your Russell Wilsons, your Kyler Murrays, you know, they aren't worth those contracts anymore. You know, Aaron Rodgers probably is, but that's based off of past performance. Let's see how he does with the Jets. You know, of those guys on the list, you know, honestly, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes are the only ones worthy of being up there. They're down in the bottom half of the top 10. So, you know, when I say that Tua is going to get paid somewhere in the neighborhood of Justin Herbert, probably not as much as Justin Herbert. I understand that. But he's going to be looking at a contract somewhere in that neighborhood.
In the top 5.
If he stays healthy this season. Right. If he stays healthy the season, because that's just the way quarterback contracts go. Whether
how many of those teams actually regret paying those quarterbacks that money?
I mean, I agree. But if you want a franchise quarterback, you have to pay him. You can't.
I'll say this too. I'm going to add in a little bit more to it. I do think that the market, especially with Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, what they signed for, it's looking like a steal for both the Kansas City Chiefs and then for the Buffalo Bills. And then you look at players that have to sign contracts coming up. You got Joe Burrow coming up. Dak Prescott's probably going to want a little bit more money too. So it'll be interesting to see,
Joe Burrow is going to be the top paid quarterback.
He's going to be the top paid quarterback coming up. And then you got Tua, like you said. You got Kirk Cousins who's going to have to sign another contract. There's other guys that in the game as well around the NFL too. But, Justin Herbert just set the market for Joe Burrow. And I don't see why Joe Burrow won't go for less than 40 or than $55 million. I really don't. I think he's going to be right around 55 million.
Why Joe Burrow waited. Joe Burrow wanted to wait for both Jalen Hurts and Justin Herbert to get paid this offseason, so that he would be the top guy.
And looking at that list too, it's like they ranked Patrick Mahomes a little bit lower, but we can't forget Patrick Mahomes had a 10-year, $500 million contract. So out of all the quarterbacks, he's probably getting paid the most. Maybe not like on a yearly basis, but he's set for a long, long time. As far as the rest of the quarterbacks, like Aaron Rodgers, so he's not really going to be making a whole bunch. I mean, he's keep getting paid until he probably retires, But Russell Wilson. I think Russell Wilson was definitely. I mean, the Seahawks won that trade. I think that was the biggest ripoff of the decade right there, because the way he performed last year, I mean, if they fired Bill O'Brien for that for the trade he did, then they need to fire whoever the Seahawks GM is, because the Broncos GM, because they lost that trade tremendously. The Broncos GM, their heads need to be rolling in their front office, but
but John Elway's not going to fire him. I think the list is pretty accurate.
John Elway is gone. Don't get me wrong. John Elway's gone.
Yeah. Besides that, I think the rest of the list is pretty accurate. I like Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray brought a different aspect to the Cardinals, especially because remember, before Kyler Murray, they had Josh Rosen, so they were struggling. They were struggling. Besides that, Deshaun Watson, I'd definitely pay him over Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield was there for a few years. He wrote a number one pick. He really didn't perform, especially with the weapons that they gave him. You tell me you have Nick Chubb, you have Hunt, you got Odell Beckham, and you have Jarvis Landry, and you can't perform. That's on paper. That's a Super Bowl winning team right there. So, but the fact that
Nick Chubb's a beast.
Yeah, Nick, monster. He's a monster. Even every year, he's one of the players that does not disappoint, like the running back. And Nick Chubb, Josh Jacobs. He might have a slow start, but Josh Jacobs is always going to pick it up. Dalvin Cook. There's some running. Derrick Henry. There's some running backs that you could look at and you could draft in like fantasy, and you can look on paper, and every year they are going to perform. So, like I said, Baker Mayfield had all those weapons, and he did not utilize them to their full potential. So Deshaun Watson, I could understand paying him the money because the Texans didn't give it to him. So someone's going to appreciate it and going to give it to him. So
completely agree with you there. Chris, do you have any news from the Patriots? Anything that's happened?
Not too much news. It looks like the last thing that I've heard from the Patriots, that they have signed Jalen Hurd to complete our 90-man roster. So outside of that, it looks like the Patriots are really bolstering their offensive weapons. So I'm really interested to see how they are going to incorporate Jalen Hurd into the offense, because if I remember, he's kind of like a speedster too. Nice size wide receiver. So it looks like they're actually giving Mac Jones some weapons to play around with. So, and you never know what to expect in a Bill Belichick offense. So I'm really looking forward. Bill Belichick offense is just exciting as an Andy Reid offense, just without the better quarterback. So, I'm looking forward to our season overall in 2023. So that's about the only news that's been happening that I can report on the Patriots.
Dom, any news coming out of the Jets?
So they did, obviously, I think it was last week, they did re-sign Williams. So that'll be good. Obviously, they picked up Adrian Amos and then released the other safety. Parks, I think his name is, released him, and then just watching the workout videos and everything that the Jets are posting and showing, and it's like there's so many different, like, I like watching the videos. I like watching, practice without pads, and right off the rip, Sauce picks off Aaron Rodgers. So I thought that was actually pretty cool. First day of pads, and there's just I'm excited. I'm excited in general across the board. I don't know why my voice just freaking cracked like puberty all over again. I don't know. And then, like I've said previously, I honestly, like we all said,
you're a Jets fan.
Dude, you couldn't go the whole time. Really? We're supposed to be directing it at Keith this show, not at me.
Yeah,
remember?
Right. Everyone could get it.
I know.
Everybody get the taste.
I'm stoked. I honestly think that the AFC East is literally the best division in football. I do. Yeah. I think across the board. I mean, we talked about previously having all 4 teams go to the playoffs. Right. Will it happen? I mean, even the Patriots still be in last place, they could still go to the playoffs. But
hey.
Listen, I don't see no crystal balls in this group right here. So.
No.
I'll slide in real quick, okay? I'm gonna make a comment real quick. Keith can't even spell dolphin, so. I
don't know. That was a clever wordplay. Right there.
I thought it was slick. It is. I like that.
For me,
I like the jab, Brett. I'll see you getting into the mood. Okay.
Hey, I'm getting into the mood a little bit. For me, I'll talk about the Buffalo Bills. A couple things have happened over the last 24 hours for the Bills. The Bills did sign Darrington Evans, a running back out of he previously played for the Tennessee Titans. Signed him after the loss of Naheem Hines, who had a freak injury where he was lost for the season after a jet skiing accident where another jet ski collided with him. He's out for the season. And then the Bills signed Jace Sternberger, who was on the Birmingham Stallions last year, tight end. He will come in and compete with Quentin Morris in training camp, which will be another great battle to watch overall. And then the Bills did have 3 guys report to training camp on the PUP list. Those were Von Miller, Tyler Matakevich, and then the last guy was Jordan Phillips. So a little bit of a banged-up Bills group overall. But
what's going on with Jordan Phillips, Brett?
Jordan Phillips had off-season surgery on his shoulder, so he will be out a little bit longer. I don't expect it to be very long, though, but it'll be maybe a couple weeks. And then, obviously, with Von Miller coming off of the ACL injury. Matakevich, I'm not really sure what's going on with Matakevich. I'm still trying to get word from an insider for the Buffalo Bills as to why he was on the list. But overall, it's early in training camp. It's good to be cautious. Number one, that's something that we have to think about is we still have another almost 2 months before the season will begin. So being cautious is okay for me, and I'm fine with that. So we can wait and see, and hopefully we get some guys back. I know there's probably some guys on the Dolphins, Bills, Jets, and Patriots that we want to see out there, but it's good not to rush them back and then they get hurt in the preseason, and then you don't see them for the rest of the year.
One of the most demoralizing things as a fan, you can you see a guy go out there and tear his ACL on the 3rd day of training camp. That didn't have to happen like that. So
right,
you do want to bring these guys back slowly, and it's once again, I've said it before, no news is good news this time of year.
Completely agree with you there.
I got a stupid question. So if we are Hines, and why would we be doing anything to jeopardize our season?
It was a freak.
And I know you have to have fun and stuff, but and I know it's a freak accident, but why would you?
Dom, have you ever been on a jet ski?
Yeah, I do it all the time.
So do you know how hard it is for another person to run into you on a jet ski?
Well, that's what I mean. Like, there should be. I don't know. I guess me being me, I would have taken a little bit more precaution because people are stupid. So,
well, I'm gonna play the devil's advocate on this, Dom, because I was thinking about that at first. I'm like, why the hell is he on a jet ski? I thought maybe he was like doing a backflip off of a jet ski or something like that, being stupid. He was sitting stationary on a jet ski. Okay, another jet ski ran into him. That tells you about the stupidity of another person on that jet ski. Okay,
He must have been a Dolphins fan.
Probably it was
on purpose.
I paid a guy. Don't worry, he took care of it.
I think about it. I'm like,
man.
God, there's no way that could happen. And it's an unfortunate situation. The Bills are going to be hurt in their special teams unit. Now you have to have a competition for punt returner and kick returner. And then you're losing out on a guy that not only was he a great running back for the Indianapolis Colts, he's coming in. I didn't say the Bills, though. Don't get me wrong, because he had negative yardage with the Bills as a running back. So bringing him in, he was going to probably become more of a focal point in his second year with the Bills, being a outside zone running back. Now he's not able to do that, and now you're having to rely on
basically revamp it.
Yeah, you have to revamp it, and now you're going to rely on a guy in Latavius Murray who is older at 33 years old. Also, Damian Harris, you're going to have to rely on as well, and then you're going to have to put more of a workload on James Cook too. So it's going to be hard, but this might actually help the Buffalo Bills because we were talking about having 4 guys make the roster at running back. Now you're looking at 3 guys and probably your fullback as well. So maybe you save a roster spot where you can use it on a defensive lineman or even a offensive lineman and save that person on the 53-man roster too.
You guys still have Singletary over at the Bills?
Nope, he went to the Houston Texans.
Oh, they need all the help they can get. But I think you guys got pretty good. I think you guys have pretty good choices at running back with Deion Lewis and James Cook. James Cook, like I said, he showed some explosiveness last year. He didn't really get enough runs in with that committee because they had Zach Moss, they have Devin Singletary, and he was third running back on the chart. And when he got in there, it looked like he had a little fumble issues. So I did notice that. But I think he's going to really run into form, especially. I don't know what it is about sports, but the younger brother always has more skills, I guess, from watching the older brother. So I think he's probably going to be a bigger threat than Dalvin Cook was if they just really let him sit there, let him learn his role and utilize him. I think James Cook is going to be a threat in a year or two.
I think what you're referring to in terms of, you said let him get a grasp on the offense is let him cook.
Yes,
I think that's what you're referring
to. Let him cook.
Listen, let him cook, okay? We tried to let Russ cook. That flamed out pretty fast. It was kind of faster than Gordon Ramsay type of thing where, you see Gordon Ramsay going on over when, he's talking to the kids and, on his show, and they're trying to become master chefs. And you see the kids go on over, and he's all nice to the kids. And then you see Russell Wilson over there, and he lets Broncos country, let's ride type of thing. And he's, burns the whole entire casserole, and Gordon Ramsay's throwing F-bombs. Everybody on the Broncos is throwing F-bombs. The fans are too. So it's now time to let the Cook brother, the younger brother, have his time, and he's gonna make a big difference and have a bunch of touchdowns up against you guys. So.
That's where you went too far, Brett.
I don't think it's far enough.
No, maybe not. I'll have more next week. Trust me. We're just getting started, guys. Okay, just remember that. Yeah. But all right, guys, I'm gonna let everybody go real quick. Number one, don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow us on our social media account for the AFC East Summit. You can find us on YouTube at AFC East Summit, as well as on Instagram at AFC East Summit. And then don't forget, if you're watching on the Go Bills podcast, you can find us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, and now Threads as well, which is a combination between Instagram and Twitter. And then also on our website, gobillspodcast.com, where you can see all of our upcoming shows that we're going to have this week. Our next upcoming show is going to be tomorrow at 9 o'clock. And that'll be an interesting series where we're going to talk about the top 5 veterans that can make the Buffalo Bills roster. So stay tuned for that video on YouTube. And also, I got to give a big thanks to my panelists here, Chris, Dom, and Keith. Appreciate you guys for being on the show. And as always, we're going to round it out with a
I do have to make one quick correction that I noticed in the comments that I actually called Damian Harris Dion Lewis. I was thinking about a previous Patriot running back that we had, so that was my fault. Damian Harris. Thank you, Nickel City Mafia, for pointing it out. Damian Harris, not Dion Lewis. Well, Patriots always had great quarterbacks, and eventually somebody in the AFC picks them up. It always happens. It always happens.
It always happens. Appreciate you guys being on. And real quick, just want to say, lastly, don't forget to subscribe to the Nickel City Mafia, Red, White, and Bills, as well as the AFC East Summit, where you can see all these guys, as well as some of my partners that we have, and Jake, Mike, Sean, and myself as well run the show. So we'll stay tuned for next week, where we will be live again on Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. For Dom, Chris, and Keith, I'm Brett. Stay safe, and as always, go Bills.
Pass Nation.
JETS.
Ends up.